Farley, correct?
Yes.
After Chris Farley?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, made my day.
He's a lot less funny.
More serious than funny, huh?
Yeah. He's funny to his family, but strangers, no.
Okay.
Does not like strangers.
But more so like when they're trying to make contact with him.
Yeah, he typically, you know, I mean, moving around the city and whatnot, he ignores people.
Okay.
But it's so weird because even he has maybe like 25 to 30 people in his Rolodex that he likes. And then beyond that, you know, if people come in our house, sometimes he doesn't like it. In our condo for sure, because it's a small space.
For sure.
But we can have people for the weekend and he can like sit on their lap even sometimes. But if they go to pet him, he'll snap.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's usually defense mode, and he also is a resource guarder.
Okay. For the touch stuff, have there been any punctures or just scrapes, bruises?
Yeah, there have been. Yeah, I think there's been a puncture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, just so you know, like a puncture is like a full-on tooth. In and out. As opposed to like it might break the skin a little bit.
Yeah.
So
the skin has been broken.
Okay.
I don't know if it's puncture or scrape, but the skin's been broken.
Okay. So chances are it's most likely.
And that was actually someone, you know, taking his bone.
Oh, so resource guarding.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So in the times that someone's like kind of been in his personal space and he snapped at them, you've not had it be any more severe than that? Than what you just explained with the resource guarding?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the more aggressive ones have been the resource guarding or, you know, me. I'm a problem.
Okay.
It seems that when other people have him, he's easier going.
Sure.
So.
These moments where people are trying to touch him, is he near you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
or near one of his people.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how it first came about because he was socialized and, you know, people were coming and going and we got him COVID. Okay. And then weirdly at one point he was sitting on my lap and a friend of mine, you know, went to pet him and then he just kind of slowly put his mouth on her hand and she said, "Is he biting me?" I was like, "No."
Sure.
You know, because it was just so weird.
Slow, so yeah. And unexpected.
Yeah, but now he'll like freeze.
Yeah.
And then he'll react.
Okay. If you solo, like let's say you're home.
Yeah.
You have him with you. Maybe you have a guest come over. And he's away from you 5-10 feet and they go to touch him. We still seeing the same behavior?
Yeah. He doesn't want anyone touching him that he doesn't know.
And outside, does that matter? Like
yes.
If someone, okay, same thing.
He doesn't want anyone touching him that he doesn't know.
How long have you had him for?
4 years.
Since 2 months?
What's that?
Since 2 months?
Yeah.
When did you notice the behavior start?
Slowly, like I said, I didn't recognize it at first because it wasn't.
Was he a puppy still, like 6 months, a year?
Full on. He was probably maybe a year at that point.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're trying to address?
Well, I just, you know, in a perfect world, I mean, that's the biggest thing, obviously, but I'm kind of getting to a point where people that have taken care of him in the past when we're traveling or whatever, you know, are sometimes not available and I need the option to be able to board him.
Oh, I see. Sure.
So that's a big concern.
How'd you guys find us?
I think Google.
Just Google?
Yeah.
Okay. What neighborhood you in?
We're right here, like 2 blocks away.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to live over by Traps Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now my wife and I stay between the facility and the West Loop or near the West Loop and then Lake Barrington.
Okay.
Just because we had a son recently, so like the.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. The commute going back and forth was like, we're not going to sleep a whole lot, so I might as well just kind of set it up.
That's another concern of mine is our first grandbaby is on the way. And I'm never going to have him near the grandbaby no matter what.
Safest.
But I do want to be able to place him somewhere when I go see the grandbaby, you know, things like that.
Placing like as in boarding?
Yeah,
or like, okay,
boarding. Or maybe daycare or whatever.
I gotcha. So just so you know, in regards to that, any client who's trained with us is welcome to use our services.
Okay.
They're not required to do weekly daycare.
Okay.
So we have clients that have trained with us, clients who have not trained with us.
Yeah.
I get clients from all over: Skokie, Winnetka, St. Charles, Lombard, even as close, not close, as far as Indiana, some on the
Mm-hmm.
border of Wisconsin.
Okay.
And I don't expect them to come once a week for daycare.
Yeah.
So I was like, any client who's trained with us can kind of forego that
Okay.
because we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I have dogs that come to us. There's one in particular, his name's Doug,
Uh-huh.
who's one of the worst cases I've worked with in 15 years.
Ooh,
He was
okay.
human and dog aggressive.
Yeah.
He's great with us, no issues.
Wow.
And they come from St. Charles.
Okay.
Yeah. And his videos you can find on our YouTube channel. If you search Doug,
Okay.
he'll pop up if you want to
Okay.
get an idea.
Yeah.
So this is my specialty.
Okay.
I'll give you realistic expectations.
Okay.
But regards to like needing a place to stay, if we've trained him, no problem.
Okay.
If we've not trained him, he's still welcome
Uh-huh.
to use our services. He would just have to do daycare at least once a week.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
So, what you're dealing with here is definitely resource guarding, and a little bit of bully behavior / resource guarding. Okay. So, obviously, if a dog has an object, people can recognize it. Oh, he's guarding the bone,
Yeah.
right? Or he's guarding me. So that's
Yeah.
clearly there's a resource there.
Right.
But even in the other incidents, like right now, if I came into his personal space,
Uh-huh.
he's guarding himself,
Yes.
right? Territorial, in a sense, which isn't, in my opinion, technically bad.
Okay.
Okay, it's unacceptable.
Uh-huh.
We don't want that. We
Yeah.
have liability in the human world, right? But do you let anyone just touch you,
Yeah. No.
right? So
I worry most about like a little kid,
for
you know,
sure, yeah.
coming
So,
up.
I just want people to kind of understand from the dog's perspective,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they tend to look at it as like, my dog's a problem.
Yeah.
And I go, well, you don't want just anybody touching you or always touching you. Like,
Yeah.
there's going to be boundaries, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
people that I allow into my personal intimate space, like my wife,
Mhm.
our baby boy, family,
Yeah.
you know. But not everybody's within that, what we call intimate space.
Yeah.
Intimate space is 2 to 3 feet of you. So like right now, I'm not in your intimate space. I'm in your personal space,
Uh-huh.
right? I'm outside of that bubble.
Yes.
But if I was within that intimate space, you'd probably want to move backwards
Yeah.
to give space,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So essentially what we have here is a dog that has very clear boundaries. He does have his like little circle of trust, which is why I asked when these behaviors started. Typically what I see is it's around 6 months.
Okay.
What happens is anybody the puppy met from the time the client got them to 6 months, friends, family,
Yeah.
dogs, whatever, they're all in the circle of trust. Then 6 months happens. And like a light switch, anybody after the fact,
Yeah.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
Okay. In your case, it was a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Which explains why his bubble is kind of bigger.
Yeah.
Because usually people are like, they got like 5 friends. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, because it was as a puppy.
Yeah.
But yours, he had a year of life,
Yes.
essentially. So he went a year. He's like, okay, I trust you guys.
Yeah.
And then his personality.
We have a
kicked in.
lot of family all over the country, and like he cannot see someone for a year, but if he knows that person, he knows them forever.
Correct. Yeah. It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so the reason that is dogs have what I would call pivotal psychological shifts at 6 months, a year, and 2 years.
Okay.
6 months would be terrible two's brain, teenager body. A year is teenager brain, adult body.
Okay.
So that's why we start to see like more like territorial stuff. They're starting to come into their own, so to speak. At 2 years, you have adult dog.
Okay.
And at that point, you're kind of like, for the most part, I have what I'm going to have.
Yeah.
Okay. Every now and then, there will be an outside catalyst. Like, for example, I had a lady, her dog was 5 years old,
Yeah.
completely friendly with everybody,
Yeah.
dogs and people, was attacked by an off-leash dog.
Yeah.
And like a light switch, the next day, hated dogs.
That's what I wanted to address with you also. I'm starting to see it a little bit. Like he loves to play with dogs. But a couple of times lately, dogs just walking by have gone after him. And I'm starting to see him be a little skittish around dogs where he never was before. That was
Makes
always
sense.
my, you know, oh, I don't have to worry about him about dogs, you
Sure.
know, unless there's a dog in his house going toward his food bowl. But like out in the city or whatever, I never had to worry about dogs. But I see him now just kind of tensing
Yeah.
after a couple of incidences.
So that's most likely it's due to distrust,
Yeah.
right? Because now he can't predict what's going to happen,
Uh-huh.
which is why it tends to be all dogs,
Yeah.
right? So like that dog was actually attacked, and like a light switch, all dogs,
Yeah.
least reactive, get away.
Yeah.
He was fine with us. He was fine. We fixed the reactivity, and he was able to be social with us when he was in our
Okay.
care. And then he was able to be social again with dogs he already knew. But I
Okay.
told her, chances are with new dogs and stuff, it can be done.
Yeah.
I can do it, but I've been doing this for 15 years. At that point, I was like 12 years, you know.
Yeah.
But the client, I'm like, you're not gonna have the technical skill to be able to do this.
Yeah.
But he was able to come back a good chunk.
Okay.
Okay. For you, we're catching it early enough
Mm-hmm.
that I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
Because we can start deterring that skittishness.
Yeah.
Plus, during a boarding train, depending how long it is, we can also start integrating them into group play.
Okay.
And if we notice anything, we can start kind of pecking at it.
Yeah.
And then if he came for boarding, what have you, like we continue to work on things, so to speak, as long as the dog is workable. Every now and then we get a dog that's like, for example, Doug. Putting him in a social group would be work. So we tell the client, like, we'll do it, but we're going to need to charge you for this because he's not an easy peasy dog. This is going to require effort.
Yeah.
Other dogs, they'll require a little bit of work, but it's not like I got to go out of my way.
Yeah.
So we do it no problem, no issue. Okay.
Okay.
So before booking this, did you read on how we train and the methods that we use?
I know you use all kinds of methods.
Okay. So I primarily use remote collar, which is the e-collar. Are you familiar with that tool?
Yes.
Do you know what it is, like the technology?
No. Is it a shocking or noise?
So a lot of people refer to it like as a shock collar.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, we got this dog here. As a shock collar or electrocution, that's incorrect.
Okay.
It's not electrocution. Have you ever been to a chiropractor or physical therapist? Have you ever had TENS therapy? The
No.
machine that moves your muscles?
Oh, no, but
Are you familiar with
I
that?
understand it. Yeah.
Yes, that's an e-collar.
Okay.
Okay, so e-collar is a muscle stimulator.
Okay.
The word shock and electrocution, pain and torture come from the dog training world. There's a lot of drama. We have positive only trainers, which is treats, affection, love, praise only. There's even some schools of thought where you can't even tell your dog no.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a client get booted out of a puppy class because her puppy jumped on her. And instinctively, you just say no.
Yeah.
And they literally booted her out.
Wow.
Okay. And then there's trainers like myself where I go, I have food, I have remote collar, I have prong collar, I have all these tools available to me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reason why I use remote collar, any dog over 6 months that comes to me for training is going to be remote collar trained.
Okay.
Okay. For a number of reasons. One, right off the bat, you get off-leash control. It's the only tool, in my opinion, that gives or guarantees you off-leash control.
Okay.
So if you use a prong collar, the spiky collar, a gentle leader, which goes over the snout, a no-pull harness, or whatever, your regular collar, prong collar even, the moment you take off the leash, you no longer have means to reinforce.
Right.
Right? If you're using food, if your dog is 30 feet away and something's more rewarding, that food cannot make him.
So he does know, I can say place and I can say down and I can say all these things. He's so stubborn.
Right.
He is never going to do it without thinking about, is this better for me? Yeah.
So with remote collar, we don't have that. As long as I have that collar on and I have that remote in my hand and everything's powered and good to go, I have a means to reinforce.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get off-leash control. When we're working with behaviors, the dog doesn't know where it's coming from. So it allows me to correct these like aggressive behaviors and it's not targeted to anything.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, your dog was scared of people. Okay. And I go to touch him and he bites me. He's biting because he's scared.
Yeah.
Right? But we need to correct the biting to technically correct the fear. So he learns, okay, biting is not acceptable. But eventually, once he understands that biting is not acceptable and he has to deal with it a different way, the fear goes away.
Okay.
So when we're correcting the aggression or fear aggression with the collar, the dog doesn't know what's causing it.
Okay.
Okay. If you use a prong collar, which is the spiky one, right? If you yank it, even if it's you yanking it, he knows it's you.
Yeah.
So then the dog goes, this doesn't make sense that you're correcting me because I'm biting him because I'm scared of him.
Yeah.
And now you're correcting me for defending myself because I'm scared.
Yeah.
You see how that starts to like, it doesn't add up for the dog?
Yeah.
With remote collar, we don't have that. So that's how we quote unquote rewire them.
Okay.
Is that we can correct and deter the behavior without creating more of the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he learns, all right, if I bite you, I'll be corrected. But if I don't bite you, nothing happens.
Right.
But nothing happens with the collar, but then also you're not hurting me.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to be scared of you.
Yeah.
That's how we start to rewire the brain.
Okay.
So we get off-leash control. We can work on stuff without creating problems. It's very logical. It's very common sense based. I've really simplified it. So even like when I work with my clients in person, I know you're looking for a board and train. But for example, I train here at Oz Park.
Yeah.
It's the busiest park in Chicago, statistically speaking. I had a client whose daughter did the studies for the parks to see how much they're getting used to like when they dish out money, you know?
Yeah.
This is the busiest park, okay? There's baseball games, there's people, there's off-leash dogs, there's everything that you can imagine here. I get dogs that are dog reactive. right? And they're lunging and barking. And if it happens, I work the client through it real time.
Mm-hmm.
So they like it because they're in a realistic setting,
Yeah.
doing training themselves. Like I don't touch the dog, I just coach them through it.
Yeah.
And it's working. And they walk away with, okay, I got an hour of experience, and this is very easy to kind of carry home.
Yeah.
When I do my board and trains, I don't accept all cases as a board and train. Your case is doable. But I get some human aggression case where I go, you have to understand how to deal with this because you're going to spend the next 15 years of your life with this dog.
Yeah.
Right. So I always encourage in person for my more severe cases.
Okay.
He's not what I would consider severe. That's why I asked if there was punctures and stuff like that. Because I know how to read dog body language like this. I already know what I can predict. So that's why I had you lock your leash. Because I read and I'm like, all right, human aggressive, people, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, when I come into your personal space, he may want to protect you. I don't want him to jump at me because I got to hand you something. So that's why I said lock the leash, right? Yeah. So I can already kind of be ahead of the game a bit, even though nothing happened. I know to take these steps that most people don't. Yeah. And that's all stuff they learn when they do the in-person. Okay. So for the resource guarding, that's actually like the easiest thing. Okay. So to speak. Okay. Because one thing that I like to do is teach default, nothing on the ground is yours. Okay. Okay. Which promotes resource guarding. Okay. Because if he finds, for example, a chicken bone, and you go to take it from him, you're technically stealing. Yeah. Right. So he's like, hey, this is mine, and I'll bite you for it. Yeah. Right. But if I teach him, there's a chicken bone, but that has nothing to do with you. If there's nothing for him to go and possess, there's nothing for him to guard. So then we indirectly reduce resource guarding in that way. Okay. But then also we have to have a sound or a cue that says, oh, you found something? Get rid of it, right? Yeah. Drop it. Or like if you're in the home and he happens to get a sock and he decides to guard a sock, you want to say something or he relinquishes it, but it's not enough that he just relinquishes it. He has to also walk away. Okay. So what happens is the owner will say drop it, the dog will drop it, but then they're staring at the sock and then they'll go for it and the dog bites them anyways because they were still focused. Whereas I teach the dog to drop it, but then leave the object because if they've left the object, they're no longer, or they should no longer be in a guarding state. Yeah. Okay. Resource guarding is also technically easier because if he does manage to get something, you go, okay, I don't have his collar on, he's got a bone, I know he's going to guard it, I need to take it, but I know not to grab it. Yes. Right? Then I give alternate means because stuff like that does happen. Yeah. To get the dog away from the bone. Yeah. So that we can still remove the object. But again, knowing if I put my hand on that bone, I'm going to get bit, I can work around it. Yeah. Okay. The people coming into the home, we have exercises for that. That's not something that we could really work on at the facility. Yeah. Because there's nothing for him. There's no territory. We have figured out that if we have, the condo is way worse. If we have someone coming to the condo, he and I stand outside the building and then we all walk in together. And then eventually he's not happy about it at first, but then eventually he, lets it go. Loses interest. Sure. Yeah. So we do have exercises for if you want someone to come directly into the condo. It is a pain when people come knock at the door, all hell breaks loose, and I have to step out instead of them stepping in. So what we do with that, because with our boarding trains, you do get follow-up in-person sessions. Okay. And you can have them be done in-home. There's just a $50 upcharge. Okay. And we would cover, when people come over, this is what we do. Yeah. Okay, so it wouldn't be in his board and train video, because we can't recreate it. Okay. But we can definitely address it with the follow-ups. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You got leash. People touching him thing. Now, are you caring about people touching him, or is it just like, so the way my brain works is, okay, if I fix the front door problem, that's one thing, right? That I agree should be done. But then if people just leave him alone, then technically speaking, there's not going to be any aggression there, right? If you had a dog, if you told me, hey, when people come over, even if it's been an hour, he stalks people and then he bites them. I go, okay, that's something we need to address. It's funny because it really weirdly, and I don't know that I've not figured out the connection. Some people he's fine, and some people he doesn't like, and so it's a little bit. I would say the people he fixates on that he doesn't like is pretty rare. So I'm always a little taken aback by it because it's not consistent. So I don't know what
you know, I know sometimes he get like my son has a girlfriend that was around in the very beginning. They broke up for like 2 years. She's back around again, and he's fine with her. But I would say he is inappropriately fixated on her.
Okay.
And he doesn't, but you know, he wants to be with her, but it's a little too intense where it makes me uncomfortable.
Fixated by like looking at her, or fixated as like obsessive about being near her?
Both. He
Okay.
likes to look at her and he likes to be near her.
Okay.
And it's just a vibe that I'm not comfortable with.
He's probably guarding her.
Maybe.
Like possessing.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like.
Yeah.
So when we get, like, I can work with that stuff.
Okay.
The issue is I can't work with it in a board and train.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things during board and trains that we don't see. Like I get dogs that are leash reactive, which is lunging and barking on a leash, right? And then the owner's like, "Oh, how's my dog?" And I'm like, "We didn't see anything." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Because we're a completely new relationship,
Yeah.
and we establish boundaries immediately.
Yeah.
And that from the get-go like resolves most issues.
Right.
In cases like this, since we're not his territory, and he's out of his element, like growing up, did you ever like switch schools?
Yeah.
Right? And you're like the new kid,
Yeah.
and it takes you time to settle in.
You're
and, like,
humbled a little.
yes, right?
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So if we gave him a home setting, it would still take at least 2 weeks to a month before he settles in. But again, I'm not going to see a lot of stuff because
Yeah.
I'm going to be addressing things from the get-go.
Yeah.
Right? So with the board and train, so with a 1 week, you get a 2 to 3-ish hour video. It's all obedience stuff, how to use the collar.
Okay.
Okay. And it comes with a 1 hour follow-up session. Okay.
Okay.
A 2 week board and train, which is what I would recommend here. Whenever there's behavior stuff, I always recommend at least a 2 week.
Yeah.
You get 2 videos, 1 for each week.
Okay.
And then you get 3 follow-up in-person sessions.
Okay.
Okay. And the longer you do, the more you get.
Yeah.
So a 3 week would be 3 videos, 5 follow-ups. 4 week would be 4 videos, 7 follow-ups, 360, 7 follow-ups.
Okay.
Okay. It's all on my website. So obviously, the longer the program, the more follow-ups you get. So let's say the videos are there to fix the obedience issue, okay? And it's to help kind of teach you how he learned to close the gap. A lot of times when people do boarding trains, they think it's like, oh, just press a button and the dog does it. And they go, no, there's like, oh, there's a conditioning process.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's important is if he messes up, you want to know how to correct it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay? Because a lot of times people correct it incorrectly, which then undoes the training.
It's inconsistent.
Correct, right? So a lot of clients watch the videos and they might use one class to kind of close the gap on a few things that they're having trouble with.
Yeah.
And then the rest, they'll just pocket them, or they go, hey, I'm having issues with the resource guarding, or I'm having issues with socialization, or I'm having issues with people coming over. Then we use those follow-ups for the stuff that we couldn't cover during the board and train itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the resource guarding, we can try to cover. We may not see anything though.
Yeah.
Okay, so just heads up there. We can still cover it with a follow-up session.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
Okay.
But that's why I was recommending at least a 2, because if we think about it, we have people coming over. That's 1.
Yeah.
We have resource guarding potentially. That's 2.
Yeah.
And in 3, we have his behavior with people, or your son's girlfriend or what have you. Right. That's already 3. Okay. So then, like, let's say you're having issues on one of the obedience things and you use a class for that. Now we have less classes to work on the other stuff. You can always purchase in-person classes, you know, like separate of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes clients are like, I want to buy a 2 week and I want to buy a 6 week in person. I'm like, don't do the 6 week. Do the board and train first.
See what's left
and
over.
then see, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Because then, I know a lot of times people do the board and train, and I would say 99% of the time, we don't need extra classes.
Yeah.
We get it done.
Okay.
Every now and then, they may need more because of behavioral stuff, and then they'll pick up a few more classes, and then we work on it, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. Questions on any of that?
I don't think so.
So, going back to the tool, so the cost isn't included with the program, okay? And Tina will send all these details and stuff.
Okay.
But with the remote collar, don't be surprised. So with the board and train, I train the first session of everything I teach. Okay, so you're watching your dog learn real time. Okay, so that means if your dog spazzes out, I'm working on it real time. Okay, because again, you need to see the behavior.
Yeah.
You need to see me work through it. So let's say, because this happens with Frenchie sometimes, I'm this completely foreign person to him. I'm making him do something.
Yeah.
I'm not requesting.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, hey, bud, you need to go to place, or you have to sit, or you have to down, or you have to heel, right?
Yeah.
It's the you have to part
Uh-huh.
that creates issues.
Yes.
Okay? So the dog's like, who are you to tell me what to do?
Yeah.
And who are you to use what I call negative pressure, like discipline, to make me do it?
Yeah.
So that's where things escalate.
Yeah.
He might bite at the leash. He could potentially bite at me. He might do his Frenchie stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you just see me work through it calmly.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the next time I film him, you might see 50% of it. And the next time I film him, you might see 0% of it.
Okay.
Right? And then 2 videos later, you see 5%. And then you see 0%, right?
Yeah.
Because since I'm working him through the problem, he's learning he's not going to get his way. And that's partially how we also fix the other problems.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because he's going, okay, I try to get away with it. I try to, bite the leash or bite at you or
Yeah.
whatever. You're not phased. You got what you wanted. I had to submit. There's nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
And then that's how we change the dog's ways, so to speak.
Okay.
So then the first week video is always the longest, about 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
So I teach sit, stay down, come place, heel.
Okay.
From the ground up. Even if
Okay.
a dog has previous training, it's from the ground up.
Okay.
The second week video is much shorter. It's usually around 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Okay.
Because we're transitioning his training to the long leash, already building towards off leash. It
Okay.
happens very quickly.
Okay.
Okay. I'll most likely have my trainer in training, Astrid, do his resource guarding video.
Okay.
That's technically not a part of the board and train program, because board and trains are more so purely obedience stuff. But I'll have her do that for you as a little bonus to give her more experience on talking to the camera and everything.
Okay.
But then also at the same time, you get something that covers your dog's resource guarding.
Yeah.
But I can't guarantee that we'll see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
If you do more than a 2-week board and train, again, you just get more follow-ups, more videos. The third week, we're doing the long leash in a pen with dogs.
Okay.
And then by the 4th week, we're doing no leash in the pen with dogs. So he's completely off leash by the 4th week.
Okay. Okay.
Now, when you pick up your dog has the skill set. But now you need the skill set.
Yes.
Okay. So that's why I do those videos.
Okay.
Is to help you catch up to your dog.
Okay.
If you did a 4-week board and train, you're not coming in, grabbing your dog and starting at week 4. You're starting at week 1.
Right.
But you have the resources to get you all the way through.
Yeah.
He will not lose or forget anything.
Yeah.
People are always concerned about that.
Yeah.
I tell him it could take you 2 months before you get to week 4. You're okay. He might be a little sloppy, but he's not going to forget.
Yes.
Plus, we have the follow-ups. So the follow-ups can always close the gap on anything that may have gotten untrained by the owner by accident. Okay. So, but at minimum, for what you're dealing with, I would suggest 2. Week 2 is when we do start to integrate dogs into the group play, because the first week is so much training. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
So I don't want to add in more stress and put him in a group of dogs he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But by week 2, they've calmed down. We've worked through all the kind of hard parts and everything. Any resistance stuff or whatever typically is done by the 3rd or 4th day. So a weekend is a nice place to start integrating into group again.
Okay.
And then from there, if you did longer, we would just just advance his training even further.
Okay.
Questions on any of that?
I don't think so. No.
One thing that I've learned from the past, Frenchies and Bulldogs tend to have skin sensitivities.
Yes.
Okay. With the collar, because it is 2 kind of metal probes, I've noticed this sometimes. If that happens, it's not a problem. There are hypoallergenic probes. We do carry them.
Okay.
I think they run anywhere between $8 to $16 a set. So then if we notice any kind of allergy, irritation, or what have you, we would we can swap them out for you, and this way we don't have to worry about that issue.
Okay.
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 The tool itself is a fully waterproof system.
Okay.
Both the transmitter and the receiver. So he could go swimming in it. You could have you could be in the pool, in a floaty, enjoying a margarita with the remote in your hand. Nothing's going to happen. It's a fully waterproof system. They last for years.
Okay.
I had my first e-collars for about 10 years before they finally crapped out.
Okay.
And then I replaced them. Most common thing we do see is the battery gives out. It's a rechargeable lithium battery, much like your cell phone. It's replaceable. We actually can replace it for you for a small charge. It includes parts and labor. But otherwise, a lot of clients, their batteries will last at least 2 to 3 years before they start to notice issues.
Okay.
Okay. Dealing with guys like him, so he's 25, 30 pounds?
Yep.
Okay. So technically he's under what would be the Doctor 280C, okay, which is meant for a 35-pound dog and under. However, when we're dealing with any kind of bulldog breed or like even Frenchies, they tend to be tougher than another dog that would be 25 pounds, right? So if you had like a doodle that was 25 pounds, I'd be like, yeah, Doctor 280C, no problem.
Yeah.
When I deal with any kind of bulldog bully type breed, it's not the same.
Okay.
What I would recommend here is the Dog Show Black Edition, which is meant for a dog that's 70 pounds and over.
Okay.
All it means is you get more from less. Okay. So on the 280C, his number could be 65. On the Black Edition, his number could be 25.
Okay.
You're just getting more output from a lower number.
Okay.
So the reason why I suggest that is I have to account for if the dog goes under stress. If the dog is in an aggressive state, you need to have enough output to cut through everything.
Yeah.
Okay. We have had dogs override the collar because they were put on the incorrect collar.
Okay.
Okay. So my job is, again, I assess and I go, worst case scenario and the breed that I'm dealing with, I know if I have this tool, I got nothing to worry about.
Okay.
Or my worries are it's like a 1% worry,
Yeah.
you know? Again, it's perfectly safe to use. I could put on my 8-pound Chihuahua.
What is your problem? Are you cold?
I could put on my 8-pound Chihuahua. He'd be completely fine. He would
Yeah.
just have a really, really low number.
Okay.
So this way, you just don't have to worry about anything. Because I've had it where like a dog would be on a 280C. It'll be like some kind of bulldog breed. And then they're at 80.
Yeah.
And our number cap's at 127. So I told the owner, your dog's already at 80 just for like sitting down.
Yeah.
And you have 47 levels left. So if your dog like becomes reactive, you have a smaller window to be able to stop the problem.
Gotcha.
Okay. Does that make sense? So that's what I would suggest for him. It runs around 340-ish, 350-ish with tax.
Okay.
But again, it lasts for years.
And then do you start off with the lowest possible just to make sure, you know, it's not hurting him too much or whatever?
So with a chiropractor physical therapist, what they do is they start low, they work their way up. And they tell us when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? No, dial to 10 out of 25. And you go, oh, that's too much. They dial it down.
Yeah.
We do the exact same thing.
Okay.
Okay. I start at 15 because that's where most dogs tend to feel it. Anything below that is super rare that a dog will have contact.
Yeah.
And then I work my way up and I explain everything.
Okay.
So if I do end up at 80 by chance, you'll see, well, Jesse did 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and not until he hit 80 on the Black Edition did he actually start responding.
Yeah.
And sometimes the number starts off high, and then over the course of the training, it dips down low.
Yeah.
And I explain everything, you know, because I want you to go, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want is an owner picks up their dog and I go, your dog's number is 80, and they walk away like, why is my dog's number at 80? And there's no proof as to why.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I would like in the in-person stuff, it happens.
Yeah.
Where a client will be working with their dog and we end up super high, but the owner's like, yeah, not until I hit 95 did my dog start behaving.
Yeah.
Right? And the dog's not in pain. The reason why e-collar is such a great tool is because I like to explain it as a bite on a button, right? Dogs are physical creatures. Farley's giving you great examples of that, right? He's going, hey, don't touch my bone.
Yeah.
Right? They're physical creatures, they nip and bite each other. So the e-collar allows us to bite Farley, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we have varying levels of intensity, including very harsh intensities if you're going, you know, 90 plus or what have you, to get as close to a dog bite without doing the damage a dog bite would do.
Yeah.
Right? So like this here is a dog bite.
Yeah.
This is 10 stitches.
Yeah.
That's a dog that didn't want to go in the kennel.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Okay. He wasn't aggressive. He got freaked out. He got scared.
Yeah.
It was a Great Dane. I tried to load him in and he's like, nope, not going in there. And the only way he knew to stop me was to bite me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Dogs bite. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's why the tool, like the prong collar tool, that's why it looks like that.
Okay.
Because when people see it, they're like, oh, that looks evil. I'm like, it's literally meant to mimic a dog bite.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So does that all make sense?
Yep.
Questions on any of that?
I don't think so.
When are you looking to try to do your boarding training?
That's what I'm going to have to look at my calendar to kind of also help it work for us, you know, because we are in and out of town a lot.
Okay.
And a lot of times he travels with us. A lot of times we leave him, you know, with various people. But I would love to make it work for us over a period of time where we're gone anyway.
Okay. So just so you know, so the longer the program, the cheaper it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if you book all at once. What we've had clients do in the past, like they'll want a longer program, but maybe they're only going out for like 2 weeks at a time or whatever, is they'll buy like a 3-week program and then they'll split it up. And they'll do like the first week and then they'll do another week.
Oh, you don't have to do it all consecutively?
No.
Oh, okay.
But you do have to do a week at a time.
Yes.
Okay. So you could do, if you bought like a 4-week.
Yeah.
And you're like, we're going to be out of town for 2 weeks here. Right?
Yeah.
You do 2 weeks. And you just let us know. We go, no problem.
Okay.
And then later in the year, oh, we're going to go out, you know, out for Christmas for a week.
Yeah.
Great. Book the 3rd week, right?
Okay,
you just wouldn't get your videos until those parts of the program are done. And we only do them a week at a time.
Okay.
Okay. But that's one way to get a longer board and train
Yeah.
for a cheaper price,
Uh-huh.
because if you buy another week, it's $17.50 for 1 week.
Yeah.
So you're paying $17.50 again.
Yeah.
Whereas a 2 week is $27.50, a 3 week is $37.50, a 4 week is $47.50.
Right.
Because what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I'm committed to having my dog really well trained.
Yeah.
So here's all this up front, but
Uh-huh.
I just want to split it up. And I go, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But you can do it however you'd like. We've also had clients that just buy a week at a time. And we
Uh-huh.
go, that's fine. It's just going to be,
Yeah.
more expensive.
In the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
So yeah, once you figure out your dates and stuff, and
Okay.
what you want to do, you can
Uh-huh.
email Tina.
Okay.
We'll need his vaccination records.
Uh-huh.
We'll need a fecal close to the date that he will be with us.
Okay.
Okay. So if you give us a fecal now and he's not coming for a month,
Yeah,
it's
then
too
you have to
far
redo
apart.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
At least I would say a week beforehand.
Okay.
We've had it happen where clients even like we'll get a clear fecal the day before their boarding stay.
Mhm.
This happened to us once. It was 2 dogs. They were going to the UK and it was like all last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Clear fecal, everything good to go, no problem. The next day,
Mm-hmm.
their poop was infested with worms.
Mm.
Okay.
What do you do about daycares then? Like if he's going to daycare like once a week or whatever, how do you do fecal tests?
What do you mean?
Do you have to do a fecal test before every time they come to you?
For daycare? No.
Okay.
No. So for daycare, because we're seeing the dog once a week regularly,
Uh-huh.
it allows us to monitor
Yeah.
them. So we'll notice things like, hey, your dog has bloody diarrhea.
Yeah.
And we'll
Okay.
tell the client, and then they'll usually go get a fecal, and they'll be like,
Okay.
oh yeah, our dog got giardia or whatever.
Yeah.
So for our clients that come in frequently, like for example, my clients out in St. Charles, they come like 2 or 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like months apart. They'll always give us a clear fecal because
Uh-huh.
it's so far apart.
Yeah.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
So for your guy, let's say he did 2 weeks, and then you
Mhm.
came back in 6 months, we would need a fecal
Okay.
because it's been 6 months.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 But as long as we're seeing the dog somewhat regularly, then we go, it's fine, unless
Okay.
we notice something suspicious with their stool.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that case, it was super last minute. Within 24 hours, the poop was infested.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, do we have to come back? We're like, no, we have 18,000 square feet. Like, we'll just completely isolate them.
Yeah.
But then when they message their veterinarian, they're like, oh, we probably did the test during like an incubation period and like it didn't pop up.
Yeah.
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 So that's why we suggest at least a week. So there's
Okay.
some time in between.
Okay.
But we've had things happen, but we have enough space to accommodate emergency situations.
Okay.
Because most places will make you come back to get your dog,
Yeah.
which I understand.
Yeah.
But I go, we have 18,000 square feet. Like,
Yeah.
we can isolate and keep everybody else
Yeah. Good. Okay.
safe in a way.
Okay. Well, that all sounds good. So then I'll just catch up and read the, information on the site and what Tina sends me, and then I'll look at my calendar and then
Correct.
we can get
Yeah, yeah.
started.
So then this is the fecal stuff closer to when you'll be boarding. And if you have any questions, you let us know.
Okay.
And then if you have questions about meals and stuff, because meals have to be pre-bagged,
Okay.
each individual meal. They
Yeah.
don't have to be labeled, but just at least pre-bagged. If your
Uh-huh.
dog eats raw, it's not a problem. We can accommodate raw.
Okay.
But Tina can help you with any questions you may have pertaining to that.
Okay.
He gets a complimentary Kuranda bed with his board and train, so you
Okay.
don't need to send him with any kind of bed and stuff.
Okay.
We also don't take any belongings other than like his collar and stuff,
Mhm.
because we have 50, 60 dogs.
Yeah.
You don't want to track toys and things
Yeah,
for
yeah,
50
yeah.
to 60 dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, like here, and then you'll end up just needing a regular leash.
Yep.
And then a flat collar after the
Okay.
training. I don't suggest flex leashes, especially flex leashes paired with harnesses,
Yeah.
because they are the worst combination.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For now, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, but at post the training, you won't
Yeah.
need this stuff.
Okay.
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 Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure meeting you. If you have any questions, let us know, and I'll
Okay.
just grab your mic before you head
Oh,
out.
yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
You too.